For those of you who'd like access to this content, follow the link in the description box, visit our Patreon page, and subscribe to the Black Kluge tier. For a mere $5 a month, you get access to the alternate Sunday episodes you've been missing, only available on Patreon, as well as the weekly Tuesday episodes. But wait, there's more. If you subscribe to the Black Kluge tier, you'll also get 2 weeks advance notice to our Thursday sessions. And if you needed any more incentive, when we have bonus episodes, Patreon is the place where you're going to find them. Also, don't forget to check out Teepublic for our great swag. The link is also in the aforementioned description.
How many friends do you really have? People you confide in.
2.
Confide in.
Oh, 1.
Confide in.
1.
Who is that?
Beth.
That is not your friend.
Who is it?
I'm talking about a friend.
But why
Could she be my friend?
She could be your friend, but she's your wife. I'm talking about friends
Well, she just became my wife.
outside. Oh, stop it. She
All
was
right,
your
I have
love
one other. My psychiatrist.
interest. That's not a friend.
I don't confide in any friends. I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't trust any of my friends. You should see who my friends are.
Well, that's what you call a friend. Somebody you can trust.
Nah. I would say Don Buckwell, my agent. I would say I'm so close to him. He knows everything that if I know I can go to him and tell him anything and he won't judge me.
I don't know if it's a friend.
And I've told him some
But
shit.
that's another person you pay.
Yeah, I don't have any friends I don't pay.
You do a show here, if it's successful or not, it doesn't matter.
And the one thing I don't respond well to is humiliation. I don't respond well to it at all. You know, I don't want to be told what a shithead I am. I don't want to. Those days are over. I've suffered enough in this business. I don't need to find out what a shithead I am.
Listen, there are people who are at a job too long. They're not into it. They can't admit it to themselves. But nobody cares around here. Nobody sits here and gets worried about ratings. It's a joke.
Well, you don't need ratings here.
So I'm cured. I'm not going to be cured of any. I am me. I am just going to a psychiatrist so that I can feel better about certain issues in my life. That's all. And somehow I believe Leno will just end up at 11:30. But anyway, they're announcing today that, first of all, Jay Leno's such a douchebag. He's the ‑1 late night guy. He gets like $20 million a year. He could be getting $50, $60 million a year, but he doesn't want it. Like, that just skeeves me out and makes me think he's a bigger asshole than I've ever, it's just like, oh, what is that? Like, what? Why is it you won't take more
Take
money?
the money, yeah.
Like, what are you trying to prove? You're everyman. You're making $25 million. I mean, no one's relating to you.
Everyman.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I got enough money. I live on my stand-up.
Welcome, ladies and gents, to QF, a podcast about Howard Stern. I'm your host, Phil Moore, a.k.a. Jim Fix. And with me is Sam. We're going to finish off this Norm clip that we started. It was a Sunday episode, and the second part's probably going to be a Thursday session, if not a Patreon one. But what are you doing tonight, Sam?
So good. We're looking at a little picture of Artie here. And of course, this is towards the end. And I always am alarmed at how disheveled and terrible he looked at the end. And now is no different.
The weight gain, like that. Remember the one that someone put together that Hurt video, the Johnny Cash version of Hurt, with the Artie clips like interspersed, and it's like, and remember Howard actually mentioned it. I think he mentioned it on the air how sad it made him to look at. I'm pretty sure he did. And it was, I think so, or unless I'm unless I don't recall, because there was a no mention Artie edict for a while, with a few exceptions. But it was, the prime Artie, and then when he put on all this weight and got drugged up and stuff, and it really is like, remember I mentioned that morphing video someone put together of Lindsay Lohan from teen kid star to drugged out junkie. Fuck.
But that video made me cry because, first of all, the Johnny Cash video in general, when I first saw it, I cried.
Yeah.
Like, Rick got welled up. Like, I go, you have to see this video, because he'd never seen it. And I'm talking, so this is a decade later or something.
Yeah.
And he was just that lump in your throat feeling when you first saw that video.
Mm-hmm.
And when they played that song with Artie, he lost it.
Yeah. It's funny how that combination of music and visual can do it. I remember the Johnny Cash one. They filmed it from there was a museum that he and his family owned called the House of Cash.
Yep.
I think it was in Nashville. I don't know anyway, they shut it down. I think they just basically got too old to run it and no one wanted to. And it was probably not doing so well anyway. And so they filmed these dusty fucking display cases of memorabilia of Johnny Cash over the years in black and white with him sitting there, and of course his wife is dead and he's not in good health, and it's the power of film. Also, it's amazing that it's a song. He didn't write the song. It's a Nine Inch Nails song, and yet he owned it.
Yeah, it became his song. I think even Trent Reznor said that once he sang it, it became his song.
Yes, and he's right.
Even like you said, the power of film, just like little things like capturing his arthritic hands.
Yep.
And him like putting his head in his hands, just these simple things, because he couldn't move around a lot. So it's not like he's doing a big dance number or something.
Yeah. Rick Rubin got so close to him. He said, even though Rick Rubin's a Jew, he would do Holy Communion with Johnny Cash. And it became a ritual. And then he said when he was remembering, he still does it out of memorial to Johnny Cash. And he said when he remembers doing it, to the interviewer, he started like welling up when he was thinking of the memory of Johnny Cash. Wow. When he would tell him all about it. So he said it became more. It was spiritual in the way of going beyond religions.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So anyway, rest in peace, Johnny. And Rick, God bless you. You put some great albums together with him. Anyway, we're going to continue with this one, guys, and we hope you enjoy the rest of it. It gets a lot funnier. And it's already been a bit funny, but it's going to get funnier as it goes.
Cocaine! Right, yeah.
I didn't say he did cocaine. Yeah. I didn't say he did cocaine at the time. This was a thing in the past. But if Artie had been backstage on coke, I would have brought him out and go, hey, look, Artie's on coke.
It had happened 2 weeks before.
So in other words, after this 10 minutes have gone by of this discussion about Artie, no one knows anything, right? We don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. No one has any.
Well, I guess no one really knows what to do. No. I mean, but I don't know. I said things probably emotionally, and I was very emotional at this fucking roast that I had to do.
Oh yeah.
Because Artie, I thought he was dead. I didn't fucking know. I thought they were telling us. I thought they wanted to do their roast so bad that they weren't going to tell us a guy was dead. Which is what I thought. It's just believable.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The show does have to go on, Nora. You know that.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they would do something like that. I remember when Whitney Houston passed away right before, or it was right after the Grammys or before the Grammys. It was right before. It was the party before the Grammys. Mm-hmm. Or something like that. And,
well, I think it was post Grammys, and there was a Clive Davis after party, right?
Oh, that was it. And I'm watching these celebrities on the red carpet being asked about her, and obviously it just felt cheapened in a way. Like she just died, but all these people are here to party. It just felt like, how tossed out is this life?
Remember the end of A Bronx Tale when they're at the funeral for Sonny, and then everybody's acting like nothing. They're at a coffee shop basically.
Yep. Yeah.
Same sort of disconnect. Well, the roasts, I mean, they are heartless in that fashion. So it wouldn't surprise me. In order to, like, the show got to go on. We've got recording. This is all lined up. We're going to lose all kinds of money if we don't do this. I get it, but at a party, if something really affects you, are you going to continue to the party, or are you going to go back home because you just can't take it?
I just think if one of the biggest recording artists of our lifetime passed away, you might want to just cancel the party.
Yeah, if I were Clive Davis, I might have, if I really cared that much. But there's
which
no
made
way.
it even worse.
Yeah,
because he was he was the record label owner who discovered her, was a part of discovering her.
Yeah, that was really in poor taste. But I mean, timing is everything, and that's just shitty timing. Once he's like, "Look, what are we going to do with this caviar?" Whitney would have wanted us to go ahead with the blow.
Huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not what I've heard.
Yeah. I felt bad.
I've heard the show doesn't necessarily have to go on.
That's in Canada. Oh. That's why show business in Canada is going nowhere. The show doesn't go on over there. Everything upsets them.
So I think me and Saget were talking a lot, and we got very depressed that night after the roast.
I see. Okay.
And we talked about Artie a lot, and
you sent me of all people, Dave Coulier talking about Saget and the voicemail that Saget left him, which I guess was the last message he left him.
It was it was a message he saved after his brother committed suicide.
That's right. And Saget's broken up, and he said, basically, you can talk to me anytime. Just let me know, like, whatever. I'm so sorry. And he was clearly broken up, and as he was when Norm passed away.
Yes.
Saget was, and I don't know that I know a lot of allegations came out afterwards when he passed away, like, oh, was he with hookers? Who gives a fuck if he was hookers? It doesn't make him a bad person, and it doesn't make him like a heartless individual. He clearly had a lot of heart, too much heart. And when Don Rickles passed away, he was equally choked up and broken up. He couldn't keep it together even on Kimmel.
Well, the thing about that voicemail, I noticed he started with saying 24/7, buddy. I'm here for you 24/7 when you're ready. No pressure. Like, you can call me 24/7 and I will be here for you. And like, obviously his voice was cracking a bit when he was leaving this voicemail, and you could tell he was sincere, which I think is pretty rare in Hollywood.
Totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not like Howard, who's just upset about not getting a good seat at Ed Bradley's funeral.
That was something else.
And then I never expected Adam to bring that up. Look, I should have phoned you guys. I should have phoned Artie. You shouldn't fucking say things about.
No, I just was concerned that you thought that of me. Norm Macdonald has.
So you weren't concerned about Artie. You were about what Norm thought about you and what, how that came off. Interesting.
That's a great catch, by the way. And like most of this interview, because we've been doing this for so long, we catch these things, the projection, the all over the place, these are things you care about. You care about what people think, not Norm.
Agreed to go to Caroline's on Broadway in Manhattan tonight through Saturday. This is you look, what, you're upset about the Carolines?
Huh?
You like going to Caroline's, or you're upset about it? You don't even really want to go to Caroline's, do you? You're thrilled.
No.
You know what? I could tell it's this face of, we were just having kind of this heady conversation, and all of a sudden you go into this segue about promoting my gig at Caroline's. Not that this isn't as all over the place as everything else was in this interview.
Right.
But he's kind of quizzically looking at him like, wait a minute, we're plugging my gig now?
Yeah, like this is the what do they call it? The jarring aspect of that segue into it was like
a segue if Jason came in with a chainsaw. It's fucking ridiculous.
At a romantic dinner.
What the fuck is this?
Like, what if you ever, you're watching in the old days of video, like you're watching a movie, right? And it's something, whatever, and then suddenly you just press stop, and whatever channel you were on before, like when you're watching, there's a commercial or something.
Yeah, or you accidentally sit on the input button and everything goes to fuzz.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, get 3 for 1 at Chick-fil-A.
I'm not resentful, but maybe a tiny bit. Like, Mia never will have to experience that, where you accidentally press the wrong button and all of a sudden you're on this program of like blue screen or fuzz screen.
Yeah, UHF or some shit.
Is it good money?
No, this is what happened.
No, go ahead.
I took the red eye last night.
Yes.
I just got in, right?
Just now,
yeah.
Right.
But I took a sleeping pill so I could sleep on the
plane.
What the fuck is she doing, a Sudoku or something?
She prepares the news.
I'm listening to you. You were on the plane. You were asleep on the plane.
No, I wasn't asleep. I took a.
So you're not listening, assholes. She just said I'm taking a sleeping pill. Right on. Ever observant Miss Quivers. Yeah.
Sleeping pill and did not go to sleep.
Oh.
Did not fall asleep.
So you're messed up now.
Pardon me?
You're messed up now?
What are you talking about?
Are you messed up from the pill? The pill that you took, did that mess you up?
You're tired. I'm just tired.
You're tired.
I didn't sleep and I took a sleeping pill.
Okay.
So you don't. So
I've had that happen where I take something to sleep on a plane and I don't fall asleep, and then you power through it, but it's almost like
you've impaired yourself.
you feel numb in a way, and you're it's almost like you have no memory then, either of like what you did that whole day, because you're just almost half conscious. It's the most bizarre thing. If you push through that part where you're supposed to fall asleep and you don't, it's the weirdest feeling.
Have you, I know we both had our share of booze over the years, but have you ever, did you commonly ever black out, like, and to not remember whole segments of, because there, I mean, I'm not saying there's evenings where you can always remember everything, but you know how, you just don't remember getting home, that kind of shit.
Yeah, I've done that. I think probably once or twice. One time I know I did that because I remember waking up the next day, and there used to be this like website called buffalobarfly.com.
Okay.
And I was looking at the pictures, and I saw myself in a picture with somebody, a girl that I had no idea who it was, and I didn't even remember going to that. Hammered, and I have no recollection of this.
That's when photographs prove that you were talking or having some interaction with people that you don't remember. That's a little scary.
I was like, I am out of my mind, and I have my arms wrapped around this person who I have no idea who she is. We look like we're the best of friends, and I have no idea who this person is. I didn't even remember going to that place.
Yeah. See, well, that's because then you never know what the hell you might have said during that time.
Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
And I would take another 8 sleeping pills. But
what are you going to do?
And I hit the stage at Caroline's in about 14 hours after I do these other 10 shows on your network. Anyone watch these things?
What shows are you going to be doing?
He's doing shows that I told him yell out the window. There'll be more listeners.
Let me hear what you're doing.
Maxim Radio with Stretch.
Oh, Stretch.
Does he have another show?
I don't know. Yes.
Comedy by Request.
Oh.
Getting Late.
What?
No.
These are all Sirius shows at the time, or Sirius XM. And so he's got to do affiliate shows, and he's probably given them like 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, whatever, to junket. But honestly,
the programming has changed so much during the years that I have no idea what any of this is.
That's like, well, it's not like, if you open up an old, so let's say you discover an old TV guide, you'd just be floored by what you saw on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like from 20 years ago, whatever. Obviously things change, but back when I was a kid, things didn't change that drastically, except for like primetime nights, the big nights, whatever. But soaps were always going on at the same time. Game shows were always on at the same time. News, obviously. But the syndication of old sitcoms was so common that it would seem like Three's Company would never not be on the air. Like All in the Family would always be on the air. Do you know what I mean? On somewhere, you know what I mean?
But see, but if I looked at an old TV guide, I would know these shows. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm hearing this, and my point is things were so fly by night at Sirius nobody even gets a chance to miss it, because nobody even has an idea what the fuck it is.
Well, that not only that, but these are all shows that were probably not paying very much at all, because Howard was stealing most of the fucking budget for the entertainment. But then if they didn't last long enough, how would you know that there was enough of a listenership, because you didn't get pushed to begin with?
Can you believe that motherfucker took that big of a payday in comparison to people like Artie? I'm
Shocking.
Never getting over that.
Yeah.
That's so stunning. It still to this day just makes me like rage inside.
You and Bob, by the way, you did a great job on the latest episode of O&A, the super cuts.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad you liked it.
But one thing you guys suggested was doing a narcissistic thing on, like an NPD thing on Opie, which I don't know if he's got an NPD. He's just got delusional and thinks very highly of himself.
Well,
I don't think he's on a level.
Think he does. So
okay, well, if you guys put together the clips, or you guys know exactly what to go for, and you would know better than me, then I think that would make for a very interesting episode.
Do you know what? I said the same thing you said in that episode, where I was like, no, I think, I think I said delusional and insecure. And sure. I said, I think he has the same level of insecurity as Howard, but I don't think he has NPD. And then Bob went into an explanation about just, it's a different variation. And when he explained it to me, I was like, you know what? I'm so used to covering NPD one way that sometimes I forget there's these shades.
Yeah. gradients, I suppose, of the whole spectrum. Yeah. Well, it's certainly like Anthony has also a similar version, but again different, but similar in the way of he knows he's the talent. He knows he had the big stick and he could wave it around. But then also has such issues that derail him.
I think Anthony's is more of having a really fucked up childhood. I think it's suppressed childhood trauma.
Yes.
That and a terrible upbringing and a terrible marriage and stuff like that. I think his childhood was so terrible that's what affects his personality, which makes him an alcoholic and all the other things.
Right. So and entirely fixable, but he's just got to want to do it.
But all I know is it ends at 5.
Wow. Oh, you're going to be here all day.
No,
Brewer Unleashed.
Brewer. You know Brewer, Jim Brewer.
But he's not here.
Oh, he's not? He doesn't do the show from here?
I think he's doing it. I think he can come in. He's doing it from his house.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. He didn't even...
Well, good Brewer. You predated the fucking the pandemic by what, about 15 years?
Way to roll out the carpet.
Yeah.
Sirius.
Even
no kidding.
Come in to see you, bro.
Yeah. I thought I got to do it from my house.
I thought Mad Dog Unleashed
no kidding.
Oh, Unleashed you do. Mad Dog Unleashed.
No, but Brewer Unleashed. He just reminded me, Brewer has the same name.
Brewer, you mean Mad Dog took Brewer's name?
Yeah.
Unleashed.
It's Brewer Unleashed. That's
How can we have...
How stupid are the program directors here? You're having a show named the same thing, but this different talent.
Right. Like when we picked QF, it was originally Quite Frankly, obviously, but then we saw.
But it is Quite Frankly.
It is, but after the fact, I saw that there was another channel not having anything to do with Howard that was called Quite Frankly, and the guy posted it on our channel, said interesting name, and it was as himself, like as the channel, and so I messaged him privately. I said, total. We apologize completely. Even bother checking to see if something was out there as Quite Frankly because it's such a Howard thing, but we're going to change it anyway just out of respect for you because you've been doing this for 3 years, you've got some type of following, and we just changed it to QF, and that's what it became. But everybody knows what the QF means.
Yeah, and I appreciate that you did that, and I think it's a common phrase, or it's common to say Quite Frankly.
Yeah,
it's because Howard says it so much, so it makes sense in our universe. Who would think a political talk show would be called Quite Frankly? I can't plan for that.
Yeah.
Have that? How can we have...
Everything's Unleashed on Sirius.
Yeah, no.
They all stole it from that Byron Allen.
He was Unleashed.
He had comics Unleashed.
You're right. I remember he was Unleashed too. All these guys were Unleashed.
I went on Byron Allen's Comics Unleashed.
Yes. Yeah. How was that experience?
Well, first of all, you couldn't be more leashed. But
when was he ever unleashed?
He would do the craziest fucking segues ever. Like, he just asked you for some bits from your fucking act, right?
Right.
So then he tells one guy, I've had to follow fucking Schimmel, right? So he's not a good guy to open with. So Byron Allen's like, so, Robert, I understand you have cancer. That's his fucking opening. So Schimmel's like, yeah, I have cancer and I'm fucking the girl that the boyfriend. And then he turns to me and goes, and Norm, you got a dog.
Sounds like you guys were unleashed that night. You really were laying it all out.
But the funniest thing I heard him say is, he said, because he just gets the jokes beforehand and then tries to think of a question. Had John Lovitz on, and he said, now, John, I understand you're getting older.
I love that. I understand you're getting older.
That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
I got to have a tape
I swear
of
to God, that happened.
John, I understand you're getting older. Had a joke on aging. Wow.
That's like the Carmen Electra was on that show later. This is it was one of that black chick who hosted that show for a while.
Aisha Tyler?
Yeah, that was her. So she says, Carmen, what one thing you can't live without? And she said, she thought for like 30 seconds and she said food.
You're hoping for
when they knock.
Yeah.
I love when they knock people.
Yeah.
Well, she answered it properly.
So you're a human being.
It's got to be either oxygen or food, right? What else is there? Let's take a couple of phone calls for the great Norm Macdonald. We haven't seen him in years.
I know. It's so nice. Last time I came up here, was with Artie when we were looking around the studios. You were showing me the new studios.
Right, yeah. You're talking about a couple of years already.
Yeah.
You're busy. Listen, what can I say? What do you think of these comedians? Like Dave Chappelle stays on stage sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours.
Yeah, I know. They have Dame Cook in L.A. They have this contest now.
Yeah.
Who can stay on stage the longest?
Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, doesn't that...
Kind of... The audience is really the people that should get the prize.
Exactly. I know. I mean,
I understand that completely. We were just discussing how when certain podcasts decide we're just going to drop long ass shows and that's going to, you should reward us for these marathon long live shows or something.
Right.
It's not about the amount of time. It's the quality of the product. Who wants to listen to something for that long? Same with the comedy on stage. I mean, that's ridiculous. Nobody would want to see that.
Regular distribution versus, longevity. I mean, because the one we left essentially when they first started doing all kinds of like 3-hour marathon shows, and we started like that initially, and then we realized, first of all, it's just too long of a slog for most people in podcasts in general. Like most people, around 40 minutes at best, and maybe an hour. Well,
the other part was we started with bigger sagas to cover.
Yes.
So. Yes. We took on the big fish right up front, the really long, complicated, not, the longer topics. The
lengthy, yeah.
Right. The huge summit, the huge, what's his name? Dr.
Abloh.
Dr. Abloh, yeah. So those were long ass segments.
Right. You weren't going to cut it into 15 minutes and then make it like a 90-minute episode. Like we're going to get the best of the episode, cut it and make more work for ourselves, when actually there was so much you had to, in shows like that, you have to get the pauses, you have to get the, like the reactions and the video for that, which is way better than just getting the audio. Even though we did it we just did the audio, but I think the video would have been more, it would more interesting.
And because we're just starting out, there's nothing else they can watch. So you want to have like something longer because this is the only content we have. Now, how many years in, we have a bunch of shows that people can watch, rewatch, whatever. And the topics we can pick and choose because we've covered those big sagas up front.
Yes. And so you got to basically we're not going to go into like podcast etiquette, guys. You guys know what you listen to and what you like, but the Gilbert Show, it's podcasts that I listen to, even at a stretch, if I'm doing housework or whatever, the most I'll get is about an hour before I got to turn it off for doing something else, answer a call. I'm always getting interrupted. So there's no point making a show 3 hours. Yes, we could, but then we'd be killing ourselves, and we also have jobs. So this is why you get 90 minutes on Monday or Sunday, 90 minutes on Tuesday, sometimes more, sometimes 2. It depends on the topic. If we have more than like 2.5 hours or something, we're always going to split it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get, even the best comedian, you would get fatigued after a while hearing that much comedy.
I mean, if you can kill for, it should be, if you go 5 minutes without a laugh, you lose or something. But otherwise, this is just talking to a mic.
Do you ever get up on stage and think about the absurdity of it all? Do you ever sit there and you're in the middle of your act and you go, like, what is my job? I'm standing here in front of a bunch of people waiting to make...
He just said in the beginning of the interview, he thinks it's all absurd. And that's why when he bombs, he thinks it's funny. Yeah. Wait, do you not listen?
No.
Dipshit?
He doesn't.
They're waiting for me to make them laugh.
Isn't my God.
The craziest profession in the world when you think about it? I mean, isn't that does it ever drive you insane?
Oh my God.
Do you ever wish you did something else?
Now, Norm's looking at him like, you're an idiot. You're right. You're great point. Great observation. We did this in the first part.
Imagine the level of cringe Artie must be feeling hearing this when Norm spit out his coffee. I mean, he doesn't give a fuck. And when he thinks about his profession and he's on stage, he literally said, I enjoy bombing because of the absurdity, because it's hilarious that people come in to see me and they come in to laugh and I failed. Like, that's great. I loved that explanation. And he's going into his psychological babble again.
Yeah, and Norm is, you got that look, you said quizzical, because he is thinking, oh, you are this stupid and this disinterested in general. And so this might be one of those situations where Norm's going in and coming out of the interview going, Howard doesn't have his fastball anymore.
I also think, just like a lot of us as fans realized, that look is kind of how I feel most of us looked in our cars at some point when we started coming to the realization, oh, this person isn't curious, he's not listening, and he's not smart.
No, he isn't.
Well, I did manual labor before, and I liked that a lot.
I was a dishwasher. I loved it.
Really? Yeah.
I was a dishwasher.
Bullshit. You gotta be
because I washed dishes at fucking camp, and he calls it I was a dishwasher. That's like saying I served the dinner to my family, but I was a waiter.
That's crazy. I was just watching this doc. It was like made in the early 2000s about like the richest trust fund kids.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, when he graduated from college, was going to inherit like millions, and kind of had a nervous breakdown and decided to join an oil rig in Texas and do manual labor for like a solid year. And he said it was the best time of his life. Like something about manual physical labor he never did in his life made him feel purposeful and actually put him in a direction for what he wanted to do with his money.
Well, good for him. I mean, you get connected. When you talk about real people, blue collar are real people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, all warts and all that shit. And so like when Howard decides, oh, he wants to do, when he tries to relate, especially with that sort of like the idea that he was a blue collar person, when he said he got work at a plumbing store, which apparently was true at some point, but I don't believe he would have had these jobs long enough to really, he would have been bullshitting about them a lot longer if they were really long form, like 1 year, 6 month kind of stints. With the camp thing, that took up the better part of a decade of his life. So I understand why he goes on about camp.
Right. I think too, some people like Anthony, Artie, Norm, who've done physical labor, I think look back on that, and it's a way to say, oh my God, but now look at what I'm doing with my life. And maybe that manual labor had something to do with manifesting what they were meant to do.
Sure.
But the pay was shitty.
The pay is shit, but somehow I always had money. I don't know why.
You yearn for those days.
I don't got no money now.
All right, Ralph, you're first up in Jersey. Go ahead.
Ralph.
Norm.
How you doing, baby?
Good, man. Hey, first of all, Norm's a great stand-up. I highly recommend his show. I've gone a couple of times. It's really good.
All right.
And I'm not going to repeat anything that Norm and we've talked off the air about Artie, and I don't think you're being 100% honest there, Norm. I think you know that there's some things you say. I don't think that you're saying that Howard's responsible for Artie's behavior, but the show just encourages it.
Yeah, of course
well, that's what he just said.
And there's no, and then there's no consequences, and that's where I think so. Like Artie falls asleep. What job could you fall asleep at?
Well, yesterday. Up a good point, because every guest has to talk about this now, I think.
Yeah,
Chris Rock said that, Howard should fire me. That's what he said. Because if I didn't have money, I wouldn't be able to.
Well, if you weren't so funny, you would be fired. I mean, that's the bottom
Do you
line.
recommend that I fire Artie?
But
get away with it because you're so funny.
But if Chris Rock said that, he's incorrect.
That's not the right move.
If
fire your friend.
There is a job that you can fall asleep at.
Sure.
Because Artie falls asleep.
That's right.
Guy's sitting right there.
Let's go to Deb.
And Howard's not realizing also that he's just been, again, he's just been insulted because you've enabled, that's why hence we said enabling this permissive loony bin of a show where bad behavior is, if not encouraged, it's not policed, and it's permitted, like I said. And so Howard becomes like almost like he's just like this owner of the. It's like when in The Simpsons when Homer decided he was going to put a trampoline in the backyard and make money off it, selling to kids as an amusement park, and there was nobody spotting, and there's all these kids hurting themselves, and he's just counting money. That's what the Howard Stern show eventually became, and maybe it was always a place for damaged people to come in and get worse, and him to profit off of it.
it's like I said, I can't believe how much money he made in the Sirius deal and underpaid Artie, while also watching him suffer, enabling it, encouraging it in a lot of ways, and full caring about it is the worst for me. Is that gaslighting, like with Hank the Angry Dwarf? That's similar thing.
Yep.
Debbie needs to speak to you, Norm. Go ahead,
Norm.
Debbie.
I was wondering what you think about Artie, also about the movie Dirty Work, because I think it's hilarious. And in his DVD, he gives people money back for if they paid for it.
Yeah, no, that's funny. No, it's funny because Dirty Work is a movie that's you know, just how can I put it? It's just bad.
It's hilarious.
I just watched it. Rick and I just watched it this week again, just because. And I had that feeling that you said, where there's so many opportunities to make this better. It has that goofy quality about it, which I loved. And I thought it was so funny when I was young, especially. And it's so stupid that it's great in a way. And I just wish they could have taken it to that next level where the stupid comedy could have been heightened by being rated R. And I'm really mad. I'm really mad.
Well, what is the PG-13 limit you to? Well, of course, you're only allowed to say fuck like once or something like that, if that. Maybe not even. So your language constricted, but also then content constricted, and so they can go that extra step further. I mean, the scene in the mafia house where they're holding the fish is still hilarious.
It's so fun. And when he's raped in jail and he's like, I mean,
this is outrageous.
There's really, and I said this, the way it's cobbled together, you know, it's not the greatest movie. Duh.
No.
But if you take those really good parts with it and you could rewrite the rest of it with a rated R, I think it would have been across the board great.
Peter Berg, the director and actor, he was on ER for a while, but he plays the lead in The Last Seduction with Linda Fiorentino, and he's been in a number of things. Copland, he was playing in that as well. Anyway, he said for the trailers, you need like 4 movie moments. They're like these big kind of like flourishes or something that go in the trailer, and then you build around it. Movies are not dissimilar. If you can write a script, like a fully formed script from start to finish, and it plays well, the whole thing connects together, or you can have action sequences that are strung together by shitty dialogue or whatever. Or if you can have a comedy and you have these ideas for comedy bits and then improv the rest. I think Saget, Norm, and Artie, they were probably collaborating a lot during this to make certain things as funny as possible. But then I remember Chevy said, according to Artie, and it was in his book, he said, whatever they do not make this a fucking PG-13 film. It's an R-rated comedy, and they will suck the guts out of it. And even though they did water it down, it's still funny. You're right. It's just a shame that they didn't decide, fuck it, let's go for it.
I know, you could even see the parts, even with Chevy as the doctor, like the corrupt doctor.
Yeah.
So many, and he's great in it. And I just,
he really is.
And fucking, what's his face, Jack? Or what's the father's name? What's the famous actor's name? The one who Norman Artie's dad in the movie where he's got the heart attack, the famous actor.
Oh, Jack Warden.
Jack Warden. Thank you.
Yeah.
He's great. And I just thought in all of these scenes, I could just see them taking this to a different place. And I'm so angry that it has to be just fucking, just smothered.
Yeah, it's too bad.
I know, it is a funny movie. I mean, I can't apologize for it.
Chevy Chase was in it, and he said that, unfortunately, he was disappointed because it was really like an R-rated script, and then the studios got a hold of it and cut out a lot of funny stuff.
The studios.
Why does Artie apologize for it?
Yeah, well.
No, I mean, I look, I love the movie too, but it's a movie that's fun to make. Listen, the kid at my shows, they have 50 DVDs, and they asked me to sign it on stage, so I thought of a joke for.
Shooter McGavin, by the way, who's the villain in this movie, his name's Troy or something. I forgot. It's some, I don't know, fucking.
Isn't that in Bill? Are you talking about Happy Gilmore?
Yes, but it's the same actor who plays the villain in Dirty Work. He's this rich asshole with a chihuahua who sticks his finger up his ass all the time.
Okay,
and
I forget his name, but you called him Shooter McGavin, which is his name in Happy Gilmore.
I know, but nobody else knows what his real name is. So if I said the actor's name, they would be like, who? It's Shooter McGavin.
He should legally change his name to Shooter McGavin.
I saw him at a Bills game. My friend Jill is friends with him because he's a huge Bills fan. So she gets pictures with him all the time. And he's like the most down-to-earth actor in the whole world. And he's so Bills Mafia. Anyways, he plays the perfect villain in all of these movies. Like, always. I don't know how he does it, but every fucking character he plays, it's perfect.
Yeah, it's a douche. Like that's exactly what you'd call a character actor. Someone who fits the part, whatever it is. Like you plug him in and he will work as long as it's the right
arrogant shit you want to hate so bad.
Yeah.
Did the movie make any money? No, it did not make any money.
But the funny thing was, Chevy was right, because I remember the fucking, there's that guy Greg, remember? There's a guy from the MGM, So the movie was pretty fucking dirty, I thought. And they kept going, nah, this is a PG movie, And we're like, really? Like, it seems like an R movie, We're saying a lot of dirty stuff in here, and we're doing dirty things. And no, man, it's fine. So we didn't do any retakes or anything, like a clean version,
Right.
Then they gave it to the MPAA for notes, and they gave the script back with no notes. Usually they make little notes.
Sure.
They said, "What are you fucking guys crazy?" They didn't even fucking dignify with a single note, because the whole thing was so dirty. Was so obviously an R movie.
Wow.
So then we didn't have any fucking backups. We had to cut scenes. We had to do retarded looping.
Yeah. So that's
and
that's
you
really
could tell.
And MGM being idiots, like you said at the time, thinking the way to go was, had the happy, because it was the same producer, Bobby Simons. He produced all those early Sandler films, and he was the producer for this, and he thought that's what we're going for, the Sandler money.
But Sandler knew how to make those PG-13 movies. Like, that's what he was specifically going for. He wasn't going for the rated R audience comedy.
That's right. So
you get this movie, and you fucking take a goddamn chainsaw to it and loop parts in, and
It's really pathetic, and it's like and the famous quote, I can't remember, I think it might have been Bernie Brillstein. He said, execs don't ever fail; they fail down, like they fail sideways. They get changed from like company to company, and no one ever takes a fall. If you ever want to check, it's one of the best videos about the business I've ever seen. Monty Hall, the old host from Let's Make a Deal, and also famous Canadian as well, got a lot. Loved his voice. Best game show host ever, outside of like Alex Trebek, I would say. They're on par. He was talking on the what is it, that foundation that discusses, they talk with old actors and they talk about the business. And he said when they wanted to renegotiate their contracts at ABC, or sorry, at wherever it was, I think it was ABC, the company didn't value them, so they basically went across, I think it was NBC wouldn't value them. He said that from moving Let's Make a Deal from one network to the other, they literally inverted the ratings for those companies, the TV ratings, and that no one who made the decision to let them go got fired.
That's crazy, but not surprising.
No,
because TV execs do this all the time.
Right. Movie execs can get fired, but they often will find work elsewhere because someone else thinks they've got it in them. But it's such churn.
I know. Tim Dillon told like a funny story on his podcast that he had, I don't know, some meeting to pitch something, and he just decided to be outrageous and go in there and just fly off the handle and pitch whatever whatever he thought, and people were taking it seriously. Like, they're retards. They have no he couldn't believe anybody was taking this seriously.
One of my favorites, I'll play it another time, but it's Fitzsimmons went into a pitch meeting with Joey Diaz because they said, look, who is this Joey Diaz? We want to get him in here. We want to do a reading with this guy. And he said, Joey said cunt 3 times in the first 5 minutes.
Oh my God. I love Joey.
He said Greg said, listen, I've been in a million pitch meetings, and never in my life have I seen something like that. Good. He goes, I want to kill my wife, all this shit. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that looked like nothing.
I would like to see the original version. You know, Artie does that joke. He says, if anyone didn't like Dirty Work, I'll return your money. You know, he's already returned $90 million. The guy's bankrupt.
Hey, you know what it is?
That's very flawed.
Yeah. Ralph,
Howard, how could the movie be a failure if you returned $90 million?
But it wasn't logical what I just said. Ralph.
Thank you for pointing out your joke's retarded, Howard.
Thank you, Norm.
Yeah.
We
Ralph, go ahead.
appreciate you.
So I'm at dinner with Norm once, or lunch or something. We're at a big table, like all these people sitting around, and Norm puts his hand on my leg, not rubbing my leg or anything, just puts his hand on my leg. And I don't know, like it was weird, but you know, Norm's a weird guy. I don't know, like maybe he was fucked up. I don't know. His hand was just like on my leg.
You didn't knock it away, did you?
And then 5 minutes later, Norm goes, "Hey, you know, Ralph is a fag. I had my hand on his leg." And he has
That's how I test people.
You test them. So you believe Ralph is gay?
I test people to find out if they're fags, and that's one of my tests. Can you imagine letting a fucking dude grab your leg for 5 minutes?
You mean Ralph didn't say anything?
Not a fucking word.
Ralph, you're gay.
Aren't you the fag for grabbing my leg?
No, he's testing.
No. And it's not like, okay, if you're a celebrity worshiping person and say somebody, I don't know, like Elton John with his stature puts your hand, you wouldn't know what to do because it's Elton John. But somebody like Norm, you wouldn't say, what are you doing? It's not like somebody who's so high up, like a Tom Cruise or something, Ralph.
Well, I'll tell you the real reason, there are two reasons why Ralph wouldn't remove his hand or tell him get it off. You know, number one, he is a pustara. Number two, he's hungry for any kind of like connection to people with money.
Yeah.
If he thought for a minute that, I can get in with Norm because he's gay and I'm just finding this out, then I'm game because I don't care.
Yeah, 100%. I think just like how he probably found out Sam Simon or John Stamos or any of the Pink Mafia he got in with and became a fuck boy for.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's how these guys operate. I mean, Kato Kalin might be, he's not Pink Mafia that we know of, but, he managed to parlay that fucking notoriety into, going on Politically Incorrect and going on other shows and being a pundit at some point. I mean, what was Kato Kalin, but like some, hanger on of OJ. And it was just incredible how he managed to almost make a career out of being an accessory.
I never saw somebody who did so little get such legs out of one story. Yeah. One anecdote. That's it.
Do you know who should get their own movie? And I would actually pay money to see him, just like if they made it a documentary. That doctor, that psychologist that Amber Heard put on the stand, like to defend her.
Oh my gosh. I couldn't believe that was crazy town. I forgot the doctor's name, but the gestures he was making and a dry mouth.
The dry mouth and I couldn't believe that. Like you could see that Norm. Johnny Depp's lawyers were like suppressing laughter watching his testimony.
Johnny Depp's face said everything, but I wished at that time they had a courtroom camera just on the audience, like just in that courtroom, because I so badly wanted to see what everybody's face looked like when that guy was testifying.
Can I put that on just for a second?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's see what I got.
I haven't seen it in a while.
Okay. So we've got this. It's a 2-minute clip of Amber Heard's.
This is the expert witness. Now, by the way, this is supposed to go against Johnny's expert psychologist, right, who was so amazing and beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys, so here's the expert witness that Amber Heard decided to put forth. I swear to God, if they ever make a live action Bugs Bunny film, this guy is a character on that.
Didn't you say that what you did was compare Mr. Depp's performance in lots of pirate movies against his deposition testimony here?
What I said was I've seen Mr. Depp do apology ads. I remember he did apology ad with Bad Dog with no delay in process speed. I've seen him interact with the media regarding to that. I saw no delay in processing speed. All I'm saying.
Let me ask you about pirates, though. You compared pirates to the depositions given in this case.
Then I apologize for what I said. Then I misspoke.
Oh my God.
You misspoke.
I mean, this is how Looney Tunes this guy is. He was diagnosing as an expert on the stand all these things about Johnny Depp. So just prior,
which is breaking the Goldwater rule,
of course. But the state was questioning him and saying, so you believe Johnny Depp, and they're taking this dead serious. And so now on cross-examination, the defense gets up and says, how did you come to this realization about all these things? How did you come to this idea that he is all these things? He compared it to Johnny Depp's movies.
Yeah.
Didn't make the comparison?
Right now, just a second ago, I may have said that I misspoke. I apologize. I misspoke.
Okay. Because you can't compare pirates to sworn testimony, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Look at Johnny's face.
But as an aside, you can.
Camille's laughing too.
Look at Camille's face. I wanted a close-up camera of everybody in that courtroom.
Yeah.
Judge someone's processing speed at any time. Like I'm judging yours right now, you're judging mine. We all judge processing speed as a baseline because of what we know about each other. I would say your processing speed right now is not slow. So, I mean, we're judging processing speed. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah. But any of Mr. Depp's other portrayals.
Camille's head scratching.
I can you believe that an expert would say this? To me, it's shocking.
There's you can see people laughing in the court, like you can see them smiling, suppressing laughter in the back.
Trails in movies that affect your analysis of processing speed.
Only I've seen him interact on interviews, and that was it. Right. When he wasn't in movies.
Right. But Willy Wonka doesn't matter to you. You see him in that movie, Charlie and Chocolate Factory? Did you look at that one when you were comparing his processing speed?
Do I have to answer that question, Your Honor?
You have to answer questions. Yes, sir.
No, you'll be happy to know I didn't see Willy Wonka I didn't see 21 Jump Street when it happened or whatever it was about. No, I did not.
Oh my Lord. Oh my God. I forgot how bad that was. What did they pick up? Did they pay somebody like $200 off Skid Row to put on a tux?
I was saying that was Central Cast. Was someone from like Second City going up there and saying, okay, you're a psychiatrist and action.
Somebody looking inquisitive on Venice Beach, a homeless guy, and say, here's a fucking tux from Big and Tall. I want you to fucking get up here and start talking about processing speed.
He's a this is okay. I've been fuck it, well, guys. We're not going into like the trial. We would have loved to at the beginning, when it did happen or after the fact. But it was just that one. The certain aspects of that
was so oversaturated too. Like that content, you could just anybody and their mothers were covering it.
But certain aspects of it I love, like the floppy fish market, the flappy fish market quote when he goes, "Did I read that right?" You did.
I have a T-shirt that says a mega pint. And with the Johnny Depp face, and it says a mega pint. Make me a mega pint.
Well, yeah, exactly. I did a Trevi Fountain type animation, like a Jim crying, like with waterfalls coming, like fake crying because he's such a bullshit artist. Anyway, it was better than any comedy that could have been released in the theaters at that point.
Same with her testimony. I remember just watching so many domestic abuse survivors saying, yeah, when we recall the actual abuse, it's not a 10-second blip. It's how are you going from the floor to the wall, through your head, through the bed, and then you look at a picture for the next day and she's perfect.
Yeah, totally.
Norm, you are a genius. I really mean that. You might be the greatest genius of all time. You were the only one who figured out that Ralph really is gay. Why wouldn't you make Ralph? Why wouldn't you make Norm remove his hand?
Yeah, say, what are you doing?
What?
I don't know. I found it funny. I didn't know.
And if he grabbed your cock, would that have been funny?
I've been giving Ralph a hand job for 20 minutes.
That was later.
Love that.
Norm blew me too, but
I like how it becomes the other guy now.
Let's go. Thank you, Ralph.
That's why I test if guys are fat.
All right. Have you tested anyone else as a fag, or is that the only?
He tried it the first day of Dirty Work. I fucking punched him in the face.
Yeah, you see, and you knew he wasn't a fag.
No, I knew he was a fag. He overreacted.
I love Norm.
Everybody's gay.
I patted him on his shoulder. That's all.
No.
You must think I'm super heterosexual.
Me.
What?
Did you hear that? Everybody's gay. Like, he's just Howard.
Did Howard say that?
Yeah, he just goes, everybody's gay. Go back.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let me see.
Everybody's gay.
I patted him on his shoulder.
Yeah, everybody's gay. Guy couldn't be happier with that statement.
That's all. Right.
You must think I'm
You
super
fucking clocked
heterosexual.
me.
You never tested me like that.
You ain't no fag.
That's right.
Oh.
Listen, already laughing.
I looked at Norm's face there. He looked over at Robin with a big smile. Go over that once more, please.
Okay.
Shoulder, that's all. Right.
You must think I'm
You
super
fucking clocked
heterosexual.
me.
You never tested me like that.
You ain't no fag.
That's right.
You're right. Great observation. He looked over at Robin and then he smiled.
That is a wink and a nod look if I've ever seen one in my life.
Okay, now maybe we're choosing to believe it because we want to, but I don't think so.
No. That Norm he does things on the fly, yes. The choice to look serious when he was saying it and then have a big shit-eating grin on his face and turn over to Robin in that way, almost knowingly, that to me says a lot.
Howard, I just wanted to say that this is the funniest interview. I'm literally pissing my pants.
Norm is terrific.
Right on point, and he's the funniest son of a bitch that's ever taken a sip of water, as far as I'm concerned.
Then you'll want to go see him at Caroline's on Broadway.
You better get over there.
So what's the plan?
I'm going to scampering right down there.
Norm, he has all these old-timey expressions. I'll be scampering right down there. Why, bitch is the funniest thing since a glass of water.
You're a real piece of shit. You're so funny.
That's Norm Macdonald. He's the richest man in town.
Yeah.
Me and Norm used to talk about Norm. He used to say, like, after 2 years.
Off with a hunting knife there, buddy.
Yeah. Well.
After 2 years of the Norm show, he was like, fuck, I got enough money, like, fuck being the richest guy in LA. I got enough money to be the richest guy in, like, Spokane, Washington. And it's just because you.
And by the way, it's Spokane. People always say Spokane.
Yeah.
You go on the road, and you know the guy would drive you to the club. You'd be in some little town somewhere, and then the guy would be driving you past, and then you'd see this fucking huge palace with 8 cars, and they go, "That's Roy Johnson's house, richest man in town. Why, that house costs over $100,000."
Wow. So
I love Norm. It's like Beverly Hillbillies comedy. I love it.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
The plan was
like the richest guy in Hazard County or some shit.
I got so much money from my sitcom.
Yeah, I'll just be the richest guy in this little place. That's Norm Macdonald lives there.
Do you miss?
Why, he fucked my dog.
Emphasis on the Mac.
Do you miss the days of the sitcom? Do you miss that kind of money, that action? I mean, that was tremendous. I mean, you didn't have to do a whole lot, and you got a lot of money, right?
You got to do. That's a misconception. If you're the star of the show,
there's a lot for you to do.
As a supporting actor on a sitcom is literally stealing money.
You were stealing money.
Yes, but he had a lot.
Do you miss it? Do you miss the sitcom?
Artie had a good job.
Did you miss the pay? Do you miss the going to the studio? It's exciting, right? You don't miss it.
No, I don't miss. I miss the people. It sounds like faggot. But I love Artie.
How interesting is this side-by-side dichotomy? Howard misses the treatment of the set. He doesn't miss the people.
Right.
Norm doesn't think about the money or the set. He misses the people.
Yep. That's it.
I mean, this is a split screen of exactly why we love Norm and exactly why we can't stand Howard.
I mean, like he just told on himself. What was that expression? The narcissists always tell on themselves.
Every time. And that's why he always asks people when he talks about movie sets, don't you miss the catering, the the trailers, everything that they do for you? I mean, they're just fawning over you. It's
Right.
always about the experience as it feels to him.
Yeah,
It's never about the camaraderie of the project.
But if he was honest, what he would say, he would couch it like this. He would say, don't you, as I do, miss the feeling of being pampered on a movie set?
Exactly. And
Right, I mean-
that's part of the projection that he always does.
Yep.
I love Laurie Metcalf and I love Max Wright. So
Right.
it
You
was
don't
fun-
call Artie
it was
that much,
fun
do you?
Well, I'd say about once a month. or
Once a month, you guys speak on the
Yeah,
phone.
we
It's
try
not
to.
awkward.
We try to talk.
Is it uncomfortable speaking to Artie now?
No, I wouldn't say it's uncomfortable. Sometimes you have to, be careful, what you say. It's like,
He gets touchy, right?
no, I'm saying the same way that Letterman doesn't want to talk to you.
I see.
Yeah, you got 4 hours to fill, so you got to sometimes be careful.
I see. Really?
Even though I have probably nothing.
I can't imagine what those conversations are. I just can't.
Unbelievable.
Well, look, you've done it all. You know McDonald. What's the plan for the rest of the day?
That's when you have nothing to say.
You're going to do
You've
the show.
done it all.
You've done it all.
Norm McDonald.
I love this. I can't say that enough. I apologize for being repetitive, but I just do. He is so, in his own way, just a savage in this. I love it.
Of course, you got nothing left to say. You're Norm Macdonald. That's his version of anything else, Robin.
Exactly.
It says my name. That's when you know the interview is coming to a
Winding
halt. So what else?
Now, what is the
It
game
says here
plan?
you're Norm McDonald.
What is the game plan for the rest of the day? You're going to do some shows at Sirius.
Yeah.
After you're done with
Get
those
some
shows,
people in those seats.
you're going to take a nap. And
I don't think I can take a nap. My hotel room's not ready. They said till 4 or 5.
you couldn't get the room the day before, and so
I should have. Yeah.
That might have worked out better for you.
Well, let me ask you. Artie says on the road he doesn't know what to do with himself. What do you do when you're in some little town?
Yeah, what do you do?
Like I only like the time that I'm on stage, because other than that,
what do you do when you have to kill time? Do you play chess?
Other than being a fucking other than the hour you're on stage, you're basically a fucking drifter.
Yeah, that's true.
So most of the time.
It's so right.
I haven't heard the word drifter in so long. So this is just so great.
Time you're trying to find food, and these fucking towns think they're interesting, and so you go. This is what they find the most interesting. You go, hey, what is there to do in your fucking shit town? So then they go, you got to see the Galleria.
You're like, hey, I'm from L.A.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen
Galleria.
Gallerias.
A guy in
Last year, a guy shot everyone at the Galleria.
This one comedian came to Buffalo and he was killing time, I guess. And on his Instagram post, he was fascinated in the neighborhoods in Buffalo, like because are so old. It's like it was called the Nickel City. So it was one of the wealthiest cities in the country at the turn of the century. So there's these rows of neighborhoods with like really old, gorgeous houses.
Okay.
And he was just walking down the neighborhood and he started knocking on doors, asking people if he could go in their house because he was so fascinated with the architecture, and they were surprised to see him. And like a lot of people let him in their house and showed him around. And he was on, I think it was Instagram Live or something. I forgot which comedian this was, but I was like, well, this is definitely the city of good neighbors. But yeah, what do you do in these fucking places? Like you just kill time. TJ Fridays.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remember, I want to play it, but I know we don't have enough time. Fitzsimmons again on a different show show of the church, Joy Diaz, the podcast, Church of What's Happening Now, and he was talking about having being in some town in the Midwest and ordering like sushi at some Japanese restaurant, and how awful it was, and the waiter recognized him and said, "Look, can I do anything for you?" Whatever. He said, "First you can do is get rid of this shit because." And then Joey goes, "Shame on you for ordering sushi in the Midwest. You think these people survived Auschwitz to come over to the Midwest? They go to New York to get the party started."
Exactly.
Fitzsimmons goes, "I don't know how you tied the Holocaust and sushi together, but you managed to do it." He goes, "Wow, these bagels are good." "Yeah, thanks. My family's all dead. Hope you enjoy it."
That's true, though. I mean, what do you do for, like, if you don't know somebody here? I always think about that. There's just, I guess you could find some things, but I thought it was great watching this comedian just roam around the streets and ask people, I'm into architecture. Can I look at your house?
Well, I mean, there's if you're curious, like legitimately curious, there's probably something in every town that'll but the problem is, of course, the sort of the night hours that a comedian has. And then when he just mentioned he's doing this show and his hotel's not going to be ready until probably fucking noon. Like there's no early check-in. In New York, what is it, 2 p.m. probably?
But at least in New York City, something you could do.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, even in Harlem, there's something you could do. But
a guy in Houston told me that once. He said, first of all, as a 400-pound guy, it was May in Houston, like the sweat was dripping off me. I had to the club guy told me, take a cab, like I'll pay you for it. There's no car,
right?
So I get in a cab in Houston. It's like 140 degrees. This guy's got a huge flannel shirt on, and he says hi. I say hi. He goes, "You're a New Yorker, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm from there." And he goes, "We got a place in town. It's just like Greenwich Village." And I said, "Really?" And he says, "Yeah, but there's no fags." And I said, well, what is it? He goes, and he said, "It's the Galleria." And I went, it was a mall.
With a hockey rink. It had a hockey rink.
But there were no fags.
Yeah,
he was right.
Yeah.
Listen.
I put my hand on a bunch of guys' fucking legs, and they all said, "What's your problem?"
So you really have the same problem Artie does, in the sense that you have to kill a lot of time in your career.
Well,
that's crazy boredom.
But you never got into heroin or crack or any of this stuff that Artie does to kill.
What kind of degrading shit is this?
Mm-hmm.
So you have the same problem that, by the way, every stand-up comedian has.
Sure.
It's not just Artie. It's boredom. It's cities that don't have shit to do, but you have an audience and you love your job. So you go to these cities, whatever. So, but you, though, even though you do the same thing, you're not deciding to do heroin. Look at my piece of shit sitting right next to me that I refuse to fire, but I'm still going to fucking make feel like shit and kick like a dog.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, and it's an astute point on your part. I mean, it's when someone wants to say, well, this is just casual conversation. No, it's not casual when you bring up someone's heroin addiction and they're in the room and you're going to mock him by saying, well, Jesus, you haven't succumbed to this, because he's not the same person. And it's the personality type and also not the same circumstances. So Norm is not Artie. Artie's not Norm. They're not Jim Florentine. They're not fucking Fitzsimmons. They're not, anybody.
I would equate it to, what if my mother in high school, because I was more popular than my sister and had more friends and had a boyfriend and stuff like that, and we were only a year and a half apart, what if she sat us down and said, you're both in high school. Well, why don't you have as many friends? Why is your friend group less? Why don't you have a boyfriend? I mean, you're both in high school. You're both doing the same thing, right?
Right, because you're the same person.
That's how belittling this is.
Yep. It's dehumanizing.
And
oh, sorry. You continue, please.
No, and this isn't to shit on my sister. I'm just making a point that that's what it would feel like if a mother did that to. She never did that to us. I'm saying I would equate it to feeling the same way because he looks at Howard as a father figure.
Yeah. Well, no, it's an astute point. My brother's a lot older, and in high school, I compared myself to him actually. Like I tried my best because I looked up to him, and I, in some ways I still do, because he was super popular with everybody, and I wasn't Mr. Popularity, and not like within a circle. I had a good group of friends and a big group of friends actually, but not comparable. And so, but again, I wasn't the same personality. He was super like polite and very nice and congenial, and I was, a little standoffish. There's a reason people get more.
And so, what if your parents decided one day at dinner to just say, you guys are both close in age. What are you doing?
Right.
You're not doing that.
Right.
I mean, this is stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To kill me.
That's the point. Yeah, just to kill some time.
It's funny.
Well, that's what he's doing. He hates it. He kills time.
Wait a minute. I don't think he's doing it to kill time.
You're not a drug guy, though, are you?
Well, in a way, everything. One time when I had the gambling fucking thing,
right.
I went to a psychiatrist, and he said, "You're doing it to like avoid life."
Right.
So I was like, isn't that why you do every fucking thing there is? You know what I mean? Like, that's why you go to work and you get.
In a sense, that is life. Right.
Life is avoiding.
I find this interesting, that comment, because even doing something like this on the side, I feel as if it's a much more meaningful way to spend time than sitting in front of the TV, which I would have been doing instead.
Sure. Like, I mean, I'm putting off stuff to do this on purpose because this is the time slot to do it. But if I wasn't, I'd try to be as productive as possible. But some days you don't feel like, because this is my daytime, it's your night. But so different situation. But when it's I'm recording in the night, I should be relaxing sometimes. But then I realize, no, but I'm putting something out there that some people enjoy.
Exactly. It does feel better to. It's not wasting time if you're enjoying the time spent making something like this. And I feel as if it is just wasting time when you're avoiding things and just scrolling on social media and doing stupid shit,
Yeah, no, I agree.
Was gambling your thing? Like, in other words, it took your mind off of all your issues and all that kind of stuff. It was your
it's a complete escape. But then the thing that you do to escape your problem becomes the fucking problem.
I always worried about you because I always had a feeling you were always losing too. Like you weren't very good at gambling, but you would constantly bet on the wrong
Gabe
teams.
Kaplan?
Yeah, Gabe Kaplan.
No.
Like
you can't win if you gamble.
Poker, not even. You can't win that.
You can win poker if you want.
Yeah, but you never win.
No, I don't think you. I don't. It's a complicated thing, but I don't think
gamblers
want to win. I remember one time I heard Omar Sharif talking about it, and a couple times in my life I've been dead broke from gambling.
Right.
And he said this thing that I found like I related to because he said I lose $6 million. He was talking about the most money he lost. I don't know.
And God only knows how he got $6 million.
Yeah.
By the way, dead on.
He was a fucking Hollywood big shot at one point in history. That's why he got the million. You fucking idiot.
Even hearing Howard say that, you could just you can hear in his voice seething that anybody has $1 million to $6 million. Like, he can't stand it.
Nope.
That impression.
I know, it's good, right?
Excellent, Omar Sharif, yes.
Look forward to Caroline.
But he was a big gambler, big player.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
So he says, one time I did $6 million. He goes, I go across the street to a coffee shop and I get the coffee. I have $1 left. I get a coffee. He goes, I feel clean.
And
I understand what he means.
What does that mean?
Means when you lose everything, you're alive.
In other words, you don't feel alive unless great.
I had my grandmother gambled all the time. She loved craps, and she never lost like to broke periods where it wasn't. I mean, she bet football and all that stuff, but she didn't have the norm problem where it's like huge sums of money where it's going to make you lose your house or car or something like along those lines. But she loved it. Like she enjoyed her life, and I don't think she looked at gambling as wasting time or avoiding life. I just think she looked at that as a fun part of her life. I don't know how it affects everybody. I don't think it's like that.
It's not always the same. My old man, every now and then in the 80s, I remember specifically, probably earlier than that, but sometime in the mid 80s or early 80s, he would go out to a poker game, and it would happen like Saturday night, let's say, and it would be every, I don't know, once a month. It wasn't very often, but when he would come home, like one day, I remember he didn't come home, so he came home early in the morning. The game finished. It was like Sopranos. It finished probably 9 a.m. All these Greek guys playing, and we asked, "Hey, Dad, how you doing?" Because he slept throughout the day, which was odd for him. So we knew he must have gone. So my brother and I go to see what he's doing. He goes, "Hey, what's going on?" And he goes, I go, "How'd you do?" He pulls out like a couple thousand, like, that he won. But he'd gone many times and probably lost, but like throughout the night, a couple hundred, something like that, something he could afford to lose. But in the same fucking game, I know a guy that basically lost his business because he was that much of a degenerate gambler. And he couldn't afford. He had to throw good money. My dad wasn't like that. He loved the camaraderie. He loved being there, just shooting the shit and being with the guys.
Exactly. I always wonder where that line is because my grandmother knew so many people like that who lost their businesses, marriages, everything, gambled away their house, gambled away. I'm not kidding. Like horrible stories. So I just wonder, where is that line, and how does somebody like my grandmother or your father, which she probably did it way more frequently than your dad, but like, how don't they cross that where it never becomes that sort of thing?
It's strength of will. And my dad, I asked him about the same thing. I said, how did you know to cut it off? And he said later on, he goes, it really was, I gambled because to stay there, to make it at a point of being there, you had to gamble, but you didn't have to, if you're playing, or the game they played was like poker, but it was a Greek version. You would put in the ante or whatever, and then you decide to fold. Some guys would just play every single hand, and that's how you lose all this money. Sometimes you got to realize, no, I don't have the cards. I'm not going to win. I'm not going to bluff my way into winning every single hand. But there are other people that think I got to cut into the losses. Their mind is obsessed on what I lost. So they go, oh God, I gotta get some winnings to make up for that shortfall. And then you start betting higher. Because you think, well, one good break is all I need, and I'll be like down 50% instead of 100.
I like what you said about will.
It's about strength of will.
It makes sense to me, knowing her personality. I have to agree with that.
Tragedy.
No, it's not
big.
A tragedy to have nothing. Right. I mean, don't you feel like sometimes when you're building a house, you're just walling yourself into a mausoleum?
Right.
Well, if you don't have that house,
you're free.
You're free.
You're free.
Now,
what is the most? Do you ever sit down and figure out how much money you lost?
No.
Do you know what your biggest loss was?
No, I don't give a fuck about money.
You do too. You know what your biggest loss was.
You know what? Should we tell the story about my guy I hooked you up with?
Okay. Before they go into that story, I believe Norm when he says he's not worried about money, care about money, because he never has gone for some easy payday.
I agree, and I don't think, just exactly how he said, I regret the time that gambling took, and I changed my behavior because I realized time spent with my son was more important. Mm-hmm. These are the things that Norm values.
And we know that Howard doesn't value anything, as evidenced by countless bits of reams of audio talking about how he would avoid his family. I mean, we're just going through some of the divorce clips, like post-divorce, and he's saying, oh God, this is brutal, and she's got custody, and I miss the kids. I'm like, you miss the kids, you wouldn't spend any time around them.
Yeah, you never wanted to see them. You would bitch and complain any little fatherly thing you had to do. I just think this isn't, the almighty dollar isn't what life's about. Everybody knows that. Sure, it can make your life easier, but it's not what life's about. And Norm, successful, flops, bombs, doesn't matter. It's not what life's about.
He knows what's important.
Time ago. It's a long time ago now.
That's one.
Fran?
No, shut the
Hit the button.
Oh, we can't say who it is.
I hit the button. I hit the
button. So
what happened?
I was a bad influence on Norm, I think, and maybe because when we met each other,
and I'm the enabler.
When you shoot a buddy comedy like it was, you go away with someone to a different city for like 2 months. It's like going away to camp. So you're either gonna hate the person or love them. And me and Norm became friends because we shared one vice, gambling. And I used to love gambling. And
I used to love. 2 days ago he was gambling.
Right, yeah, used to.
The first night I met Norm, the rehearsals, we went to a pool hall in Toronto, and I won $2,000 off him playing 9 ball.
That's right.
And he ended up paying me in Canadian money. It was like a wheelbarrow, like blue pieces of paper with a goose on it.
Yeah, they don't have presidents.
You have no respect for the Canadian.
That's when you bribe somebody in Canada, you're like, maybe this goose will change your mind.
It's so true.
Yeah. At the end, no, I forgot you were Canadian. I didn't forget, but now I'm reminded. Artie at the end, like the Kumia thing, he was into gambling again too. And remember the whole bookie situation where it was on YouTube and that whole scuffle? I was like, Jesus Christ.
I think that was his buddy Dan McGrath, the bad cop, that was trying to get something away from him. It wasn't a bookie at all. It was like him trying to take drugs away from him or try to, like, he wasn't stealing money, but there was some like handheld video where Artie was he was chasing him.
Right. But there was also something with, I forgot what it was. Like, I think it had something to do with a bookie. Like, he was holed up in a hotel room doing all sorts of crazy shit.
He claimed that someone, like a bookie, broke his nose.
Yeah. Yes.
And I don't believe that for a second. I believe he fucked up his, like, I mean, maybe he did, but that wasn't the only reason he had a nosebleed. Let me put it to you that way.
Well, I agree with that. But if you're into gambling heavy and you're just in the excesses of drugs, I can easily, and you're being nickeled and dimed Kumia show because you're not showing up for work. So everything you get, you're blowing at thing. You owe bookies money. I mean, I don't think they're that forgiving.
Well, no, but they want you alive because they want the money back.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so that's the key thing. Like, you can't, you don't. There's no percentage in offing the person that owes you money, because then what are you gonna do? Sell them as a cadaver to, like, medical science?
That's why I don't understand the fentanyl thing. Like, you're killing your clients.
Me too, and I don't. Now, apparently, I don't know. I mean, what the whole thing with the fentanyl, is it cheaper to mass produce some of these drugs, and that's why they're using it, or is it like a cheaper, more economical high for the maker?
I guess whatever chemicals that are the precursors of it are dirt cheap, and it's just easier to mass produce. And so, but the way I think of it now that it's been so many years that it's coming over here and it's slowly changed over time from dope or an oxys to now fentanyl everywhere all over the street. Mm-hmm. And the people who have the precursor chemicals that are shipping it to Mexico is China. I kind of just is feeling like this seems like the opium wars. Like, this is something else. Like, they don't care if we're dead, because maybe that's the point.
Well, I don't know. I don't think it's anything as conspiracy. I think it's more like carelessness more than anything else. But the other thing is, of course, well, I mean,
look at the death rate.
Well, maybe the government's injecting some fentanyl in a couple shipments just to off. What was that thing that Jay Thomas said one time? Why don't we inject them with something they never wake up again?
I love Jay Thomas.
God. Anyway, I don't know exactly why, but I felt the same thing. Like, how long before people start lacing weed with fentanyl to fuck with people and not realizing, oh, that's going to kill them because you're too stupid to realize the dosage and all this stuff.
I know. The laced weed stuff, though, is a thing where they're lacing it with, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But people are like having total seizures or like freaking the fuck out on it.
Just fucking just
scary.
Nuts.
Have a cocktail.
And it really looks like Monopoly money. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with this?
Right.
Back then when the dollar was good, it was like a wheelbarrow. We shot Dirty Work August into the fall, and Norm was still on Saturday Night Live. And I started, in lieu of other things, halfway through the shoot, I started phoning this kid I know who was a runner for a bookie. So I start calling this guy, and I'm making a lot of bets. And see, Norm wasn't gambling at the time. He was really into work. He you know, he was shooting the film and he was going back to SNL. The last few weeks he had to go do SNL.
All right,
and the movie,
he's busy.
Right. But I think because I was always with him talking on the phone, he sort of was like, yeah, you got a guy. And I said, yeah, I got a guy. He goes, can I have his number? Because I want to maybe start putting some bets in. So this bet This bet that ruined me and Norm, because when we went on the road and I opened for Norm, and this is what we did. You talk about killing time. This was a problem. We got introduced to this thing called a lightning bet. Now, what a lightning bet is, say you know what the under-over is in a basketball game, the total amount of points the two teams score. So say it's 180.
Okay.
Right? If you lightning $1,000 on the over, when they hit 180, every fucking point they score after that, you win $1,000.
I like that.
So it's sick.
Nice. That's free money.
It's sick. Every layup is $2,000. So like if it's at 180 when they go into overtime, every single basket's $2,000. It's insanity. But every point it's under 180, you lose 1,100 because of the vig.
Right.
Okay. So it's craziness.
Right.
It really is like.
That's a dangerous bet.
Right. It's a dangerous bet.
It's a high stakes bet.
But it's the most exciting.
Not for me, because I couldn't lose.
Right. Well, that's.
I gotta say, sometimes when I'm watching Rick bet and he has got like that FanDuel's thing, and the shit you can just bet on is so all over the board, like just
it's insane.
You could bet on so many different things in football games, and we'll watch football Sunday, and I'm watching him bet different stuff, and it's exciting. But I could easily see how, I think you might lose your business at some point. Like, yeah, I mean, you could just massively. There's way too many things that you're able to bet, and it's so enticing because because if you win, it seems so great, but if you lose.
Well, it's like the way weed used to be just like pot. Like used to be just you smoked it. Now they can't find enough ways to put it in your body. Eye drops, nasal inhalers, you know, asthma, you know, like whatever, like food, brownies, you know, whatever it is, injectables, I suppose, at some point if there isn't already. It's like gambling. Yeah. They can't find enough ways for you to lose money.
Exactly. I said the same thing, and I think kind of the way, you know, our phones were so controlled by it. It's just has to be with us. There's so many different things you can do with it now. It's the same with this betting. I couldn't even imagine the ways you could bet until I saw that website, and I was like, holy shit.
It's actually having the opposite effect on me, and it's turning me off some sports that are televised, because if I see nothing but fucking gambling ads, I get angry.
Oh, there's a lot too.
Yeah, and so I use streaming apps, and then some of them are good. They just literally go to some like ESPN rotational promo thing that goes in like keeps going until the commercials are over, which is great. Mm-hmm. That way I don't,
I just like simple the way bets used to be. Like that lightning thing sounds great, but think about what he said. Every point under.
What if it's a highly defensive game?
What if it's 165?
Yes,
188.
All of a sudden you're going to like selling your kidney to pay for this shit. It's awful.
I mean, it's so easy to fucking lose 10 to 20 grand.
Well, I knew a guy who was in town who killed himself because, well, he literally committed suicide, not because of gambling, but he had about $7 grand stored away. He was going to get busted for dealing weed, basically, and this is illegal in where we are. And he was looking at doing probably a couple of years in the Huskow. And he went for some money that was like put in a floorboard of his thing, and it was gone. And he found out that the doorman in the hotel knew where it was somehow and took it.
How much?
So as in $7,000. And so the doorman, so when he just got despondent, like this money was going to go somewhere, was going to pay for a lawyer or something, and he hung himself. And then the doorman ended up doing, thank God, he got nailed because it was on CCTV, like him leaving his house with like this money in a bag, and there was no reason for him to be going anywhere near there, right? And so he's doing, I think, 4 years for like not an accessory, but something along those lines, you know.
Looks like your justice system is working, and ours is just not anymore. You'd be out on bail, and you'd get no time.
All fucking sad as hell.
You're a winner, right?
It was the most exciting type of gambling I've ever been about. So Norm, a couple of weeks in a row, wins like $100,000.
Oh my God!
I mean, because we were.
You're proud of that,
You know,
right?
we were doing.
I was on a hot streak.
He was, and you know what we were doing? We were betting on. It was the '98 NBA Finals, and we were betting on the Bulls and the Utah Jazz.
Right.
So so Norm like 3 weeks in a row wins $100,000.
Wow.
And
you couldn't stop there, Norm, right? You couldn't say, I got a couple of hundred.
The guy.
I'm done.
Well, here's what happened. He gave it all.
I can buy the biggest house in Albuquerque and be that guy.
Here's what happened. He gave it all back, and then he was even again. Now Norm loses 3 weeks in a row.
Oh my God.
About the same amount of money. And Norm, being a good man, pays the guy off. Now, all those weeks I would win like $8,000, and we'd pick up the money from Norm. There'd be a shopping bag of hundreds. Like the kid I was going in with, the runner for the bookies, a kid I go up with, you know, I was like, he's like, I don't want to go into New York by myself. It's a lot of money. So we would go in and he'd get the shopping bag of $100,000 from Norm. And we would drive to this like factory in Jersey, and he'd peel off my $8,000 that I wanted. Didn't even make a dent in the fucking.
How do you know Norm wants this on the air?
We were well, he knows what I was
He
going to
likes
say.
it.
He knows what
Yeah.
This is a long time ago, man. He's a different guy.
Yeah.
So.
No, he's not.
Well, but listen to what happened. And this.
I have to say, this is a payback for the Coke story.
I think so. Yeah. And I don't blame him.
And Norm looks a little apprehensive, in my opinion. He doesn't seem too willing to be talking about this exact amount of detail in this story.
Yeah.
But neither was Artie to be flown. You know, he got into the story, but that's not the first impression you want to make on Howard Stern.
No, not exactly.
This is why I don't talk to this kid anymore.
Right.
So Norm, being an honorable guy, pays off every week.
Right.
So now here comes the last game of the Utah Jazz versus the Bulls. Norm Lightning's $1,000 on the over.
Okay.
On the under. That's right.
No, I went over. You went under. It was the
No. I bet the over. You bet the under because it was you won.
It was the lowest scoring.
Lowest scoring.
And you had
won.
the under.
The over. So it was the lowest scoring game.
Right, but
you had the under. You won.
No, he had the over because
he's such a fucking doorknob when it comes to this. Now, you're not a gambler still, but you can understand math, can't you? They just explained how it worked.
He doesn't understand the concept of the over and the under.
He doesn't understand the concept of basketball.
Well, that's true. Well, good thing those fucking courtside seats are saved for him and that fucking twatso in a hat.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Lowest scoring game.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Well, I'm trying to figure. Right. Okay. Exactly. So I bet the under, and he bet the over. Okay. 1,000. Now I only bet $200 a point, but Norm bet at that. So I had to deal with this. It was the lowest scoring game in the history of the NBA. The Jazz only scored like 45 points. Like Jordan just shut them down single-handedly. So I lost like $9,000 on the game. But Norm won like $110,000.
Wow.
Okay.
Woo!
So now he's even with the guy who wins $110,000. So now Norm comes into New York. We're doing press for Dirty Work, and he's at this hotel. And I said, I'm going to go get the money, and I'll bring it to you. So I call the guy up, and the guy goes, listen, man, I'm sorry. Tell Norm I can't find the guy. And I said, what? He says, tell him I can't find the guy. The bookie just took off on me.
Wow.
So I said, first of all, now listen, you got to, like, I knew Norm for a little while.
Now,
God.
Now, almost anybody with that does this would think Artie was in on it and they scammed. It was like a hustle to scam Norm out of money. But that 100,000 is theoretical in the bet. It's not actually in any shopping bag. It's not like Norm gave the guy $100,000. That's why I don't think Artie had anything to do with this. In terms of the guy was like a Welsher. The bookie Welshed, but he didn't lose 100. Norm didn't lose 100. He just wasn't paid the 100 he was owed.
But he lost the money on the bet. And here's the thing. And Norm was a good guy and paid his debt.
Yes.
When he did lose. You have to be, if you're going to be in this high level of gambling under, the underworld of gambling where it's not, fucking OTB, you have to I mean, you got to make sure that you know who you're dealing with, and that this person is going to be you have a track record. This guy's been doing this for 20 years, something I would have to say minimum 20 years for this person.
Oh yeah.
Minimum, if they're dealing at that high of a level.
Or else you just got to stick with Wyndham Hill or Bet365 or some established website that's not going to fuck people because they're there. They've been there for like 10 years or so.
But at the time in 98, you're not going to get anything except for what the underground sort of gambling.
Yeah. Unless you're in Atlantic City or Vegas.
Right. And I think that I can't even imagine how fucking uncomfortable this must have been for Artie and how terrible he must have felt. But what a shit bookie. I mean, nobody could predict stuff, but you at least have to know, okay, I have enough capital. If this is a big game and you see how many bets are pouring in, you have to know when to start taking bets. Like you have to say, I know if I take another bet like this and say all of these people win, like you have to imagine the scenarios based on how many bets you're taking in. Can I pay all these people if this scenario happens? And if you can't take these bets.
Yeah.
Or else you'll have to fucking get out of Dodge.
Yes, completely.
But I had just gotten the movie with Spade. I said to this guy, I said, listen, you're fucking me up here, man. This is a guy I work with. I said, Norm could easily call Spade and say, this jerk off is ripping me off. He could get me fired from the movie. You're fucking me here. He's a good friend of mine here. He paid you everything. First of all, what bookie
so
wouldn't
you never
want
got
that
paid?
business? Wow. I had to go to the hotel. I had lost the 9,000 I lost, I gave to Norm.
That's true.
And I said, because I said I'm not going to give it to him. So I kept begging the kid, and he kept sticking. Like, obviously, Norm thinks, and I think, he was the bookie.
Yes.
Right.
We both think that, but yet we're not saying his name.
Right. We're protecting him.
And but you see,
so
Norm
can continue.
Norm,
Wow. So in other words, when you get so now that I hear this story, it's good you gave up gambling because really it is because you can't teach things.
My son's a good kid.
Right.
My son's a good boy.
He's a good boy.
But also, Artie keeps gambling with people he can't get paid for.
I know. Well, Artie was up 70 grand and couldn't get it.
Did you hear that?
Same deal.
Yeah. Same deal.
Not the same guy.
Different guy, same story.
I remember that story.
Yeah, I do too. But this is, again, like my grandmother had the same bookie for her entire life.
Mm-hmm.
So, you have to be able to see a track record. I mean, how long has this person been doing something like this? I can't imagine putting that level of a bet on any of this and not knowing how long somebody has been doing this. And I guess because Norm, his mistake was trusting Artie's vouch. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He
and
just
Artie never vetted that person.
No, he face value said whatever. And this wasn't a person that Artie, I'm sure he was just like, I don't care. I trust him enough, but doesn't really know.
Well, Artie has that impulsive character where he's vouching for people that he really has no idea and no business vouching for.
Yeah.
I won 78,000 on the NFL, and the guy gave me 18. But again, it's like,
and you can't go to the police. They're not interested.
Yeah, right. No, one guy, I remember with this guy, they go, why don't you break his legs? I'm like, what the fuck? Why don't you kill him? I'm like, yeah, that would be a good thing.
Well, I tried to
kill a man.
I mean, this is like an episode of Cops when I remember watching it. A drug addict lady who had a big stash on her had her drugs stolen from her, and she called the police. And I was like, you are high as fuck on meth, and you call the police because, yes, technically you were stolen from and ripped off a ton of a shit ton of meth, but you also are high on meth and we're selling meth. I mean,
there's a disconnect here, Mrs. You might want to call the underground cops.
She called the
Guido,
police.
and Vinny.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And you'll go to jail.
I go to jail.
You've never killed anyone, have you?
What?
No, you've never killed anyone. Listen. Norm,
I tried to tell, I said, listen, if Norm was an asshole, he could have said, look, obviously you're in on it with this guy. I never want to talk to you again. But he believed me.
Of course. Who wouldn't believe you?
But what did Bernie Brillstein say to you that time? I was trying to, when you won the money playing craps, what did he say to you?
Bernie, he just passed away. He was great.
Did you go to the funeral?
Yeah.
A lot of celebrities?
I didn't go.
You didn't go?
You didn't go?
No.
You are a recluse.
I was actually kind of sad.
Did you hear that?
Well, that's why you go.
Yeah.
He said, "Did you go to the funeral?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then he said, "No." But he goes, Howard said, "Were there a lot of celebrities?" As
Of course.
That's all that matters.
Yep.
That's all that matters to him. Were there a lot of celebrities at your funeral? What a vapid fucking cunt.
Oh my God! There was one of my favorite stories about the Bernie Brillstein funeral was John Lovitz was there. He was one of his clients, right? And he had split with Mark Gervitz, was his old agent, who was Spade's agent, right? So he gets up there and he goes, why Bernie? Why? He wasn't that old, Why couldn't it have been Mark Gervitz? So he turned it into a roast of Mark Hurwitz, his old age, and he goes, as many of you know, Mark and I had a difference of opinion regarding my career. I wanted it to go up.
I love this.
It was a great, like, from what the stories I heard, it was phenomenal. It was just star-studded because he was so loved in the business, Bernie Brillstein. Anyway, let's keep going. We're almost done.
I know, but I knew people would be making jokes and stuff like that.
What did he say? He said,
yeah, I won this money at craps back when I was married, and I didn't know what to do. I never won money before. And I said, "Hey, Bernie, man, I got all this money. I just won at craps." He goes, "First of all, don't tell your fucking wife." That's the first thing. Then you get a safety deposit box at the Mirage, but only put $10,000 in that one. You had a big long explanation, like it had happened to him like 50 times.
Isn't it great when you ask someone what to do and they know? It's just amazing. Sam Simon, quickly, yes, because Norm is on a schedule. He has to get over to the.
I love that because when you hear about rich people who eventually get taken down, but it's like decades of money laundering and everything, and they know the people who can stash the money literally everywhere. And when you hear the intricacy of how, I don't know how these people know how to do this, but when you're hearing it, I just wonder to myself, like, how does somebody know how to do this level of fucking intricate money laundering? I mean, countries, bank accounts, wiring, deposit boxes, everywhere money.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was Artie was telling I guess there was a story Eddie Murphy told about James Brown telling him, "Look, you don't have $1 million. Black man can't get $1 million. They'll shoot them. They'll shoot him. The authorities don't want a black man to have $1 million. You know what you got to do? You got to take that $1 million, you put it in a shoebox and you bury it." He just had this image of James Brown behind his like digging up the entire backyard looking for that $1 million he left in there.
Smart.
Yeah.
I think to the gay channel or something. He's going to describe how to find out if someone's gay. Sam, go ahead.
Hey, the funniest thing I think ever happened to Norm, and now that he's revealed that he's a degenerate gambler, is he moved into a new building.
Oh, Christ, yeah.
What?
Howard already likes it. So anyway, so he moved into a new building. In the meantime, there are casinos in LA now that are in warehouses, condos, and they have high-stakes poker game and sports betting and dealers and security and bars and food and everything. They're just like regular Vegas casinos.
Apparently, the movie Rounders, the Matt Damon film with John Malkovich, that was based on Norm.
Oh, I didn't know that, but I do remember hearing about these sort of things because I think it was Ashton Kutcher and Danny Masterson and a couple of other who was the other celebrities who there was a ring that was taken down, like an illegal gambling ring at some point in the early 2000s, and all these people were involved.
Yeah, I'm sure Affleck was weighing in on that as well because he was a notorious degenerate gambler as well.
Yes,
drinker. Yeah. So there was there was a circle there. You're right. I remember distinctly there was a while there that it was going down, but it wasn't something that they could really bust people for. I mean, you're busting the people hosting it, but not the people playing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And card rooms, except they're just private, and for some reason they're just sprouting up all over the place. So I get invited to one, and Norm has told me the address of his building or the street that it's on, his new he just moved into, And I'm looking around for this place, and I say, I think this is Norm's building. So I go inside. I go in. I play poker all night. Whatever. And they have girls and bars and everything. And I go home and I looked up, and I had called Norm. Norm, go ahead.
No, yeah, it's right next door.
Anyway,
but you live next door to this
I live
place?
next door to a casino.
Now, let me ask you something.
It's the worst luck of all
You live
time.
next door to a casino, so that's terrible for you.
He just found it, forget, how bad it would be if you moved into a new building and there's a casino.
Right inside.
This is Norm. It's 25 feet from his front door.
They must have wiped you out,
Next door neighbor. No, I haven't gotten in yet.
You don't worry about money? You don't worry that you could lose it all?
Of course I do.
I would hope so. I would think so. Do you have
Didn't we cover this, not 10 minutes ago?
I mean, of course he would care if he lost it all, but the point is, Howard keeps harping on this as if he doesn't hear him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not. He's only listening for those buzzwords. If Norm says the word gay or fag, if he says money, movie, director's name, actor's name, that's it. It's like there's that Far Side about the dog, what the dog hears and what the owner hears, and you hear the first cartoon, the owner's going, "Come here, Sparky, come here, come on, Sparky, come on, you want that? Talk, Sparky, raise paw, Sparky," and then then they have the next cartoon, what the dog hears, and you just see Morse code, and then Sparky, Sparky, Sparky.
I was thinking Howard's like the experiment Pavlov's dog, where it's certain words trigger him to suddenly pipe up, and those words are exactly what you said: fag, jack off, gambling, drugs,
sex, money.
It's crazy what you just actually in real time watch him respond to the most vapid shit that it's already been gone over.
Did you ever see that? I never laughed so hard. The Capuchin Monkey's experiment on fairness.
No.
Oh my God, it's the funniest thing ever. It's two monkeys in a cage, side by side, but separated by one grate. And one's being given, they have to give rocks to the handler, and the handler will give them food for each rock. So one of them's getting cucumber, the other one's getting grapes. And so, you hand the rock, and then you get the grape. One gets the grape, and one gets the cucumber. The one eats the cucumber, and then he sees that the other one's getting grapes, which is a more valued, thing. So then he does it again. Then he sees the other one getting the grape, and then he gets the cucumber, and then he grabs it and he throws it at the handler.
That's so great.
That's Howard. If you haven't seen it, you definitely got to check it out. Capuchin Monkey's Fairness Experiment. There's a 45-second clip, and you just see the injustice because the monkey starts slamming the door and going and he starts pulling the grape where's my grapes?
Yep.
Yeah, that's Howard. Where's my sex? Where's my fag? Where's my gay?
That's how Artie should be. There should be two cages, and you see this one talented comic, and you see this fucking pelican in a wig wearing a wife beater with a dragon tattoo. And if I were Artie, I'd be throwing that hoagie.
Yeah.
Investments and things?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No, I don't have investments.
You don't have any investments? No. It's on a mattress somewhere. It's on a shopping bag.
In a bank or whatever.
With Canadian money.
You trust these banks?
But I went to that casino because the guy called me in, Sam.
Yeah.
And
Levon.
Yeah, Levon.
All right, hey Sam, I gotta go.
Okay.
All right, Sam.
When you get together,
guys, I gotta,
when you get together and you tell stories about losing and gambling, all of Sam's stories about a bad experience in gambling is he won so much he can't carry his chips.
The great Norm Macdonald, and go see him. Norm Macdonald, the richest man in town. Go see him.
In most towns.
In most towns, he's
man owns a Lincoln. Lincoln Continental. Guy's got a coupe de ville.
Great seeing you, Norm. Don't stay away so many years now.
Okay, we'll leave it right there, guys. There's only a little bit more, and it's just him and Artie in the hallway just talking. And there's a wrap-up show that I'll cover with someone else that's fantastic. It's about 35 minutes, and mostly Norm's in it. Some great stories. But we hope you've enjoyed this one. Any closing thoughts, my dear?
Oh, I just absolutely loved this.
Yeah.
This is great.
It was great. Guys, take care. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Who's the girl?
The girls?
Is there a girl back there?
Yeah, it's a couple girls back here, it is.
They're chewing through the robe.
That's my harem, it is.
Your harem, it is.
Yeah, I think he's got him locked in a schoolhouse.
Yeah. Is that a little hole in the ground?
Yeah.
A good day yesterday it was.
Pick me me up 3 wenches.
Filled up the van, I did.
Put him in a hole, I did.
I bought the chloroform, it was.
Hey, guys.
Put it on the napkin, I did. How did you get... Shoved it on her mouth, it was.
What are those girls doing with you?
Knocked them out, I did. Put them in the back of the van, it was.